Is controversial ever not a word used when describing NASCAR at any point in a season? Like, when's the last time we had a season where something questionable didn't happen? Sunday's race at Daytona, in my opinion, was amazing. The racing was all out with no lift from any driver, and honestly, until the caution that became the red flag for rain, I thought drivers were doing a decent job of keeping themselves in check and really racing hard without causing a lot of issues. It's that caution that came out because of rain that stirs up the actual issues that everyone seems to have from yesterday. Let me go ahead and tell you, I don't personally think NASCAR did anything wrong in the timing of that caution flag. I think there is an argument to be made that maybe they could have been proactive and called the caution when they saw weather was close, but I would ask the question, what precedent has been set up that would make you think it was okay for them to call a caution before there was a reason for a caution and that not be mired in its own skepticism? Why would NASCAR throw a caution for rain if there was no rain on the track? What happens if they call that caution and it takes the rain another 10 minutes to hit the track after they did that? Then everyone's going to be mad at them for not letting the race play out, and then whoever just happened to be leading whenever they preemptively called that caution flag because they saw rain coming, that guy gets declared the winner. Now that's a controversy. Now people are upset about that. I think that NASCAR could not win in any situation, I think, yesterday. And, how quick does anyone think NASCAR can throw a yellow flag? Justin Haley, this dude who has really poured fire onto this for the fan base by getting out of his car and claiming it was raining a whole lap. And he later redacted that comment. Haley was clearly frustrated and let his mouth run a little too much. And, let's not forget, he's got Brett Griffin from DBC in his ear. That whole time, I'm sure he was groaning and complaining as well. And I can already tell you that Door Bumper Clear is going to be a hard listen to this week. They are going to be very salty. But as you can see, looking at this same camera that was used, you don't see a thing of rain until right here. You get the first drops. And then once they pass that camera, you start to see a little more. And that's when all just calamity broke loose. And I think that that's the thing that people don't understand and that people were frustrated about is they thought that it was raining longer than it was. Literally, as soon as they started turning was when the rain hit turn one. I don't know how much faster people wanted NASCAR to throw a flag. Even Kyle Busch, who is never shy about complaining when given the opportunity, said it wasn't raining until they hit turn one. I think that that fans are having knee-jerk reactions to seeing a bunch of cars wreck, their favorite driver complaining, and just assuming NASCAR did something wrong. And don't get me wrong, NASCAR's made plenty of boneheaded mistakes to lead you to that conclusion. But this, I think, was just a mix of poor timing and bad luck from Mother Nature. Looking past the rain controversy, I want to talk about the playoff conclusions from this race. We saw Austin Dillon pull off the win and Blaney scrape to gain positions through the field, only to knock Martin Truex out of the playoffs. And I want to go ahead and say, I agree with anyone that believes Truex had a year that is worthy of a playoff spot. But the truth about it is, both he and Blaney knew what they had to do to make it in to the playoffs this year. We've been saying for 2 months now, it looks like we're going to get at least 15 winners. Truex and Blaney each went for points over wins the entire year, and it almost cost Blaney, and it did cost Truex. And at the end of the day, Blaney and Truex have been up front all year. That's why they're so high in the points despite not winning a race. They watched 16 other drivers win a race. At what point do you just have to say it's on them and it's on their team? I've just seen so many complaints about Truex not making it and how it isn't fair. And listen, you do not have to like the playoff format, but per the rules in play, this is how it shakes out. I know that the playoff format has holds that need mending, but I'm tired of reading the same tweets about missing the Winston Cup format because it's gone. And I'd be willing to put my life savings on it that it's never coming back. NASCAR needs to stick to this format and tweak it where needed, but not change the format. We're in too deep, and more you change, the more the champion's pedigree from this playoff era becomes diluted. I mean, if we switched back to year-long point system, imagine how that tarnishes someone like Chase Elliott's 2020 championship. And I mean, to me, it tarnishes it greatly if we go back to something like year-long format. Because, let's be honest, he wouldn't have won that championship without the playoff format. And I'm sure all of Elliott Nation doesn't want to hear that blasphemy. And I'm sure they definitely don't want to have anything that would tarnish his first championship. But changing the playoff format to something more like a year-long format would do so. It would do that to everyone that won a championship in the playoff era. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, like even Martin Truex to a degree, even though he probably would have had a dominating year enough to win that without the playoff format. That's my big reason why I don't think that we should keep complaining about this format. But what we need to do is stick to what we've got and keep moving forward and tweaking it. In 20 years, the next generation of fans isn't going to remember having a different system, and those of us that do aren't going to care enough to keep arguing about it anymore. The playoffs will just be the standard for NASCAR, and fans who want a year-long points battle have plenty of amazing racing from IndyCar and Formula One that they can go to and get that from. But honestly, you can't sit here and tell me that any other auto racing championship is as exciting as the NASCAR playoffs. But if you want me to complain about the playoffs and a tweak that I would make, Truex and Blaney, neither one of them should have made the playoffs this year. We had 16 winners with Kurt Busch waiving his medical waiver, and that is the only reason that the door was even left open for Blaney to squeak through. But I have been very vocal about my displeasure for medical waivers and how that whole thing always shapes up and how we should just get rid of them completely. And we need to just do, if a driver wins a race and gets injured, then it's a matter of if that driver can stay above the top 30 by the time playoffs start. If they do, they're in. If they don't, they're out. And Kurt Busch right now, even after all the time missed, still sits at 23rd in the standings. The 16th playoff spot should be his. If he doesn't make it back until Bristol, then so be it. He has a shot at making it to the next round if he wins Bristol. I don't think giving up that playoff spot was the right call. I respect Busch for doing it, but I think NASCAR should have been like, no, it's your spot. You're in the top 3 in points. It's irrelevant whether you're healthy or not. Of course, if Busch would have fallen below the top 30 line, then he didn't deserve to make it. And I know that, I guess, sucks if you're a Kurt Busch fan, but back in the days when we had the Winston Cup format, if a driver got injured, they didn't just hold his place in the point standings. He lost all those points, and it just was what it was. Injuries happen. That's just my opinion. Because my thing is like, what happens if Ryan Blaney goes on to win the championship now? Does his championship get an asterisk next to it because he technically didn't make it in because that 16th spot was Kurt Busch's? I don't know. But overall, I love Daytona, and I thought it was an amazing race, the most intense race of the year. All of the fans that are complaining that Daytona and Talladega are just wreckfest now, and they are, but you can't say they're not entertaining. The reason Daytona and Talladega are so intense now is because of the win and you're in format. It makes these guys who aren't competing for wins weekly, it gives them a chance to make the playoffs, and things get crazy when you dangle meat in front of these dogs. I feel like fans are starting to revolt against super speedway racing, and I'm telling you, the day we start dropping super speedway races is the day the sport starts to get to a point where we might not be able to recover from. We don't need to add anymore. But we don't need to keep bashing these races and possibly, influence NASCAR to say, oh, maybe fans don't like super speedway races. Guys, you can complain about them all you want, but people love them. They're the highest rated attraction in NASCAR. They are what fans, just average everyday fans, what like novice fans, diehards, it's always the race everyone comes and makes sure to tune in for. We can't get rid of them. We can't keep just bad-mouthing these races. The drivers, I understand their point of view on it, but at the end of the day, drivers are complaining about tearing up cars, but they sure ain't slowing down in the corners or not cutting through lanes short notice or throwing horrible blocks that have a 0% success rate like midway through races. All of that stuff on the last 10 laps, cool, but y'all know what these tracks are, and y'all still do things within the first 10 laps. I mean, at a certain point, look in the mirror. Anyway, that's my rant. What do you guys think? Do you like yesterday like me, or do you think I'm dumb? I'm a wreck lover who just likes watching drivers hit walls. Tell me what you think in the comments, but please like and subscribe, and I really hope y'all have a great day.